Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you how I journaled for 7,777 days and what I learned. And so if you enjoyed this type of content, please remember to subscribe and let's get into it. Okay, so if you've been around here for a while, you will know that I mentioned journaling a fair amount. I use it in homeschooling. I try to get my kids journaling. My husband and I journal, and I think it's just very important to keep records. And so today I wanted to share with you why I started journaling and then why I have kept journaling all these years, okay? Because that puts us in like 2002, that I have basically journaled every single day since the beginning of 2002. And so I'm gonna start off by telling you why I started journaling. So I like to read as well. And so when I was young, I would read all these books. I love historical fiction. And I would read about all these stories and people would say, oh, I pulled out my journal or my ancestors' journals and I learned all these stories from them. And I just thought that was so cool. But I didn't have that. I didn't have these journals that I could just pull out that my great-grandma wrote or my great-great-grandma or all these different people that maybe came across the ocean or, walked across the plains or whatever it was. I don't really know. I didn't have journals of those things. And I really, really wished that I did. And I kind of yearned for that. So it motivated me to start keeping a journal. And at first, again, it was still a little bit sporadic, but then I consistently journaled every single day. Okay, I probably missed a few days here and there over the last almost, 20 plus years. But for the most part, I have consistently journaled every single day. And I have seen it bless my life in so many ways. And I'm grateful that I stuck to it. So let me tell you why I continued to journal. Because I was pretty young, right? In 2002, I was in ninth grade. 10th grade-ish, somewhere around there. I was pretty young at that time. So why did I keep journaling? What motivated me then and what keeps motivating me now to keep journaling? The first thing that I have realized is that I don't have the greatest memory. This is something that's taken time to realize. I don't think my 15-year-old self knew this, but I don't have the greatest memory for little details or even what's happened throughout the day. Sometimes at the end of the day, I'm I just don't even remember what happened. And so having it written down is very important because otherwise I would literally forget it. I know some people remember all the things. My husband is one of those people that even if he didn't write in a journal, he could remember so many details about things. But I am not that way. So in order for me to actually maintain any sort of memory of my past life, I have needed to write it down, which is one of the reasons I have kept journaling. The second reason I have kept journaling is because it is hilarious to read about your past self. Let me just tell you. So I brought some journals up to show you. There's proof. There's a big bin downstairs. It is humongous, full of journals, and it's almost full. Some of them are my journals, some are my husband's journals, and some of them are books I put together for my kids when they were in preschool, and the bin is almost full, so I'm gonna have to get another one. But there's just so many journals. But it is so funny to go back through them. So I just wanted to show you a few of these real quick. This one, it's not my first one. I wrote in here, journal number 2, when I was more consistently writing in my journal. This one at the beginning is still kind of sporadic. It's not every single day, but then eventually it gets to be every single day. And it's fun to go back. I wrote in different colors. Sometimes I'm writing in cursive, sometimes I'm writing in print, and just all the different things. It's just so fun to look at who I had a crush on. And if you want to go back further, I have these journals, and these ones are not complete because these were done in 1997 and 1999. Can you even think back that far? Let's be honest. That's a long time. So this one obviously only goes a little ways in, but it has, I think there's some of my crushes in here and stuff like that. That's what I wrote down apparently. I don't know if I cared about anything else. And my husband thinks it's so funny to read about those things. And then, I have all this information in here. Again, handwriting. You get to see over time how your handwriting improves, or maybe it doesn't improve, maybe it gets worse. And then something else that I think is super fun, maybe this isn't as hilarious, but it could be looking back on it, is this is a journal when I taught English in China, and I was there for about 4 months. So I got a separate journal beside, like I was writing in one already at home, but I wanted something that just was for China. And so I got this one, and I put in like all the restaurants we went to, like our travel. So it's a scrapbook journaling situation, you know, the different types of treats, candies we tried, things that were unique. And it just has a whole bunch of different things in here. And then occasionally we'd go on trips and I didn't want to take my bigger journal. So I just write on some pages and then I tape them in here. But I just love this so much. It's so fun to go through. And one day I'm hoping it will be super fun for my kids to go through. And then the last one that is great to go through and that helps me, especially with spiritual experiences, which I'll talk about in just a minute, is my mission journals. I was a missionary for 18 months. So this one has my name like embossed on it. And I went through 2 or 3 more of these during that time. But look at that handwriting. That's cursive. Whoa, there's, I kept like programs for church and things like that in here. But this is different handwriting. I used to write in cursive in my journals all the time. It was like the only place I wrote in cursive again. Like for baptisms and stuff, I would keep the programs, but I would write in these journals. And again, it's just so fun to go back through them. Do you want to see a picture? It's like glaring because the window and the ring light, but there's a picture of me right before I went on my mission. You get to see all these really fun things that you would forget about if you didn't write them down. And then again, the hilarious stories, maybe they weren't funny at the time, but maybe they're funny now. Hopefully they're funny now. But also the learning experiences and all those things, it's just so great to be able to go back through them and to see how you've changed or maybe not changed over time. Another reason that I keep journaling is to help me reflect on my day. Like I said at the beginning, I don't have the best memory half the time, most of the time. Right now, it's all the time. With pregnancy, I feel like I can't even remember what I did 5 minutes ago, let alone like the whole day. Don't ask me to do that. But it causes me to sit at the end of the day. And if you think, I do think better in the morning. So if you wanted to start like journaling in the morning, you could always do that if that's easier for you to reflect on the previous day in the morning. But usually it's at nighttime and I'll sit down and just think through my day. And I can think, okay, this is what happened, or this, oh yeah, I forgot that this happened. And my husband will bring things up. Oh, did you write about this? And that's helpful because I'm like, oh, I totally forgot about that. And it just causes me to go back through my day and be like, oh, I could have done better here, or this is where I saw Christ in my life here, you know, and all these different things. And it just helps me kind of refocus on what's most important and just analyze my day every single day and be like, okay, what can we do tomorrow that might be a little bit better? Or maybe the same thing works, you know, the same thing day after day might just work. And so I'm really grateful for that. The next one kind of goes with the last one is I wanted to keep journals, and I've kept keeping journals to help me remember God in my life, to see God in my life. And I did start keeping a separate journal. It's more just like a bullet journal of every day of just at least one way I've seen Christ in my life that day. But it helps me remember those things and remember those experiences. If we don't have records all throughout history, when we don't have records, people forget who they are and they basically become savage. You know, they forget how to speak. They forget how to write, all these different things they don't know how to do, or they can be easily controlled because they don't have this ability to reflect and to learn about the past. And I relate to that most in Christianity because I'm a strong Christian, and all throughout time you see when these records are taken away, people forget about God. They forget how to be humane, you know, and be kind to other human beings. And so having these records is very, very important, which is one of the reasons I want records for my family or for other people. I don't know who they're going to go to when I die, but you know, maybe public, hopefully not, because that would be embarrassing. Can you get embarrassed in heaven? I don't know. I just love the idea of being able to reflect every day or to go back through my journals. Like I said, with some of them when I was a missionary, going back and just seeing God in my life. But it's also great when, when you're a missionary, that's all you're focused on constantly. And so having the other journals where I can remember God has always been in my life is also very important to me. So I love that aspect of keeping a journal. The next reason I still keep a journal is because it's a habit. Like plain and simple. It is just something I have done for so long that it's a habit. Obviously at first it was more conscious, yes, a conscious choice. And now it is definitely just more of a habit. There are sometimes if we get thrown out of routine where I'm like, oh, I remember my journal or whatever, but most of the time it's just something that is part of my day. It's just everything I do, like you get up in the morning and you start your routine. Like when I go to bed, I write in my journal and that's just the way it is. And it's helped me too because, if I have been able to start one habit and have it last for 20 plus years, I can do other habits. Like I can do hard things that I know a lot of people complain about. Like journaling is so hard. It's hard for me to be consistent. I'll start and be ambitious. And then it's like, I look back at my journal, it's been 6 months, it's been a year, and it is hard. So it helps me know that like I can do hard things. I can start other habits and see them through to completion, or, some habits don't necessarily have a completion date, but I can keep doing them and I can learn from them and I can grow from them. Okay, and the 6th and the 7th thing kind of go together. So it shows me what's important to me, what I like to document as I go through my journal, as I read through them, or even throughout my day. And everybody's going to record things different, which is kind of the 7th point. But sticking with this idea of what's important to me, some days it is basically a bullet list. Like I'm still writing it in paragraphs, in sentences, but it's this is what we did, 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 the end. And some days it's a little bit deeper, like these were my emotions for today, this is what happened, or this was a good parenting moment, or this was a bad parenting moment, or my kids did this great thing, or whatever it is. In something like this, like a missionary journal, there is a lot more in-depth experiences just because I was constantly in that like spiritual mindset. But that doesn't always happen now. It's kind of like crazy mom mindset all the time. And so I don't have as many like spiritual moments that I specifically write about, but they do happen throughout the week. And so I will document those as they happen, or some funny experiences. And this goes into the next point of everyone documents things a little bit differently. So you need to figure out which way works for you. But my husband, he is better, like I said, at remembering these details. And so he will remind, like, oh, you didn't write about this funny thing that happened? I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that funny thing that happened. But he also is much better at writing and telling stories than I am. And so it's more fun to read what he wrote and not what I wrote. I'm like writing a shopping list basically for the day, and he's going into the little stories. And that's basically how he writes his journal. It's just different than mine, is he will tell his little stories or experiences. And some days he's just like, I don't have anything to write, because he's looking more for those experiences where I'm like, well, I can still, like, this is what we did today, and kind of document the day. But the great thing about this is that it provides a full picture of our family, okay, with us both journaling. And he did not journal consistently when we first got married. He journaled as a missionary and had journaled again off and on. Like, I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. A lot of the off and on journaling, and I'm gonna get back into it, all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until we'd been married for a few years that he was like, I'm gonna journal consistently as well, every single day, or at least mostly, every single day. And that's what he has done. So now if people were to go back through both of our journals, you could open them to the same dates and get this fuller picture of what our family life was like, from these different perspectives. And I just really love that idea. I just think it's so great. And the last point I wanted to mention of why I've kept journaling is I want it for my posterity. That goes full circle back to why I started journaling in the first place, is that I wanted these records for my kids and for their kids, my grandkids and great grandkids, to be able to look at these things, to see our experience and be like, grandma was boring. That's what they're gonna say. Our grandma was so boring. Look at what she did, nothing. But that's okay. They can think I'm boring. They can make different choices. But I'm so excited for them. I don't know if they're gonna be excited about it. I know I would have been excited about it. I was craving to have journals to read when I was a younger child, a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old. And I just didn't have that. And I really, really wanted those records to read. So it has motivated me to keep journaling in some sort of capacity. Even, if you can't journal every day, journaling in some sort of capacity, just because the records are so important. They're so important for our posterity. They're so important maybe for other things that we just don't know yet. And so I love keeping records, knowing that other people are going to read them. Sometimes that's embarrassing. My husband's like, you wrote that about that in your journal. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. People need to know about these things, right? It's important for them, even if maybe thinking about it now is awkward. It's not like I'm probably going to be sitting in the room when they're reading it and they're looking at me like, oh, grandma, why did you write this? So I just love that idea that my posterity will have these records. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit different. It's why I started journaling, why I've kept journaling, and I hope to also get a video out somewhat soon about how you could start journaling, some easy helps or tips of how you could start journaling. So if you enjoyed this type of video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you keep a journal, comment down below. Let me know how you like to journal, how long you've been journaling, whatever you'd like to share. And I will see you next time.